I was educated here, primary education, the last year of primary in Bombay, then high school in India, 2 years of college in India, then University of Southern California in Los Angeles. I also worked at a small industry there. Funny enough, I had done, American education is very different than British. I was given some work to do a paper on organizational structure of a medium-sized industry, 40 people working. I knew one of the owner, because his son-in-law was with me at that university. Can I do this? He says, yes. And I did a paper for them. And at the end of my degree, 52, I was allowed to stay 2 more years in US. So I decided I'll work here, and in the evening I'll do courses in corporate finance, because my degree was in industrial management. So there it is. Did that, came back here, and of all the things, our company was one of the biggest trading company, Premchand Raichand, in East Africa. The 2 things that we were very big in import is the galvanized sheets and rice, 2 very different produce department. Now galvanized sheets in those days normally came from UK or Belgium to this country. Then Japan comes in, and our family were the first one to import 200 tons from Japan. And we did literally a killing on that. We made money. And then the Japan opened up. Nowhere in the world you could get 30 gauge. Then eventually it went right down to 37 and 32. But that was the beginning. And then I was transferred back to London in 59. And our family then decided, at the advice of one of the Japanese suppliers, why don't you put up a small galvanizing line here? And we decided to do that. And just about that time, I decided to leave Premchand Raichand in London and come back. Incidentally, the owner, MP Shah, this is the house he built. And when I came back from America, my first week, I was going to stay with one of my cousins too. Said, no, you're going to stay with me here. I stayed with him. So our family goes back in business since 1929, MP Shah and us. So that galvanized interested me. Then I was sent to London as company. I was in the financial side. We were what you call confirming house. We were funding East African businesses, some West African businesses as well through Premchand Raichand, which was owned by Mr. MP Shah, and I was there running the company. I decided to come back in 62. The reason was family had decided to go into this industry, and my background was industrial management. So we were the first one in whole of what we call South Saharan Africa, except South Africa, to produce galvanized sheets. And the first production at our Changamwe plant was done on the 19th November 1962. Now about the plant, interesting thing is that the plant and the Japanese people who supported us, not financially, that we will give you good deal, we'll send you people to train your people, and you can send people to be trained here. First of all, my eldest cousin, in our generation, like Suli is my cousin, eldest cousin in the family passed away. If he was alive, he would have been 101 now. He went to London University and did engineering, mechanical engineering. In those days, only civil and mechanical. There was no other engineering. He was very bright, but he only knew engineering, no business. So he went to Japan to look at the line. We ordered, and he was the one who installed, under his supervision, the local Fundis as installed their plant. Just before installation was finished, 5 Japanese came to work so that they train our staff in production. And that is how first galvanized sheet was produced on that particular day in sub-Saharan Africa. The second plant was Chanderiya's plant, was exactly a year after that in Uganda. Either October or November 1963. Then the history, then they put up another plant quickly in Kampala. Our side put up the plant in Tororo. And then we all talked about it, and first we formed a sales company, Gelsheet Sales Limited, to market our product so that we don't compete. Frankly, that was the reason. And then eventually we started doing this in 1986. We had a 3 weeks meeting in August in Nairobi between us and Chanderiyas. Valuation done, etc. And decision was taken to join and do everything in this field together. So that now, when that was done, it's very interesting. I had a very close friend. He had a farm in Eldoret, extremely ill. I had promised my daughters back from boarding school for holidays. I promised I'll come every weekend. I went first weekend to next weekend. I had to go to Eldoret because friend was ill. Third weekend, just when I was going back, he passed away. I went to Eldoret. And this is how, that was fantastic time when Chanderiyas and us sat in Comcraft House and finalized that we will be partners in particulars. Anything we do in Africa in steel, roofing, pipe, anything, we will do together. So that is the way it was beginning of Safal Group. The name, etc., came afterwards, but that's how the two families. We had worked before together. Way back in 29, we were partners, and by marriage also. 2 of my sisters, Aruna and the eldest one, were married in the family. So that, and then we also said, East Africa is not enough. Let's go somewhere else. Started with Nigeria. They also did Nigeria. Then we started with all different places, as we know, which is now Safal Group, South Africa, smaller places, etc. And the motto always was expand, but know the area, work with your customers, work with your financiers, work with anyone who's and your employees. Be fair to everyone. That's been from, we learned that from my father. All. So the beginning was done when we ourselves got involved in day-to-day running. But time came that we also realized that we can do, we already started getting good managers, but we can slowly leave running to them. And that is the only way to expand and become a Pan-Africa company, which we did. Now, funding, very interesting. When the funding was done for the first project, as I said, I was that time in London. So the bank said, okay. One bank said, no, all of you are youngsters, those who are here, my brother, my cousins, bring guarantee of Mr. M.P. Shah, who was your partner. We can't, we are not partners in this. So there's finally another bank agreed. Standard Bank said no, National Bank of India, with one condition, that Standard Bank comes back and tells you that now we are ready, you don't go back, give us your word. My cousins gave the word. He said, 6 of you gave us a guarantee. I went and signed the guarantee in London. 5 were here to my solicitors of Premchand Raichan. He looks at me, they knew me. But he says, you know, Dhiru, this is a big amount. So if something happens, but we think we will succeed. So that is how we started, 62 production. And I remember very distinctly, 1965 end, 66, the manager of National Bank of India was a good friend, and by that time we started playing golf together. So I went to him one day. In those days, this was funny. You will, like if you want to go and see a bank manager, you go through there is an Asian chap who will be their broker. They used to call broker. They deal with all the Asian companies. So I would walk in. The broker told my cousin Suli that your brother comes and he just walks to the manager, he doesn't come to us. But that is the relationship which we built with the banking and finance sector. And in 66, I went to him and I said, look at this, look at our record, look at our balance sheet. You give all these Mazungus finance without their personal guarantee. We are ready to give the same thing as they give. You have on our assets, you have this, what they call, have the right if something happens. He says, I have to talk to London. I was going to London at that time. So he said, go and see our people. I went there, talked to them for 2 things, this and more credit. And they all agreed because we had a very good record and our connection with that bank was so good, we never left them until we expanded, moved to Mabati, etc. Then we needed more bankers. But the most important part was our relationship with the suppliers, etc. were great. Then we decided to put up the cold roll mill. And that was big. The first cold roll mill that we have is from Japan. There are 2 mills at Mariakani. That is called diamond, the top quality. Today we can't afford to buy from the same people. The second one is from India, but equally good. So when that was built, we really merged completely everything here between us and Chandrayas. All the companies came under one. Finance side was done wherever we had to pay extra. Whatever is to be done, that was done. That is when the real foundation of the Sapal Group happened. Because here, all the 4 companies in East Africa went under one management, and everything, the new Nigeria, etc., did the same thing. So that way, I think beginning was that simple beginning. It ended up in Sapal Group.
That is a fantastic story.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic. Yeah. I tell you what I'd love you to tell us about. You told me earlier it was the buying of that first colour line.
Yes.
So tell us about that. That's a lovely story.
This is very interesting. You like, because this country you might have never heard before, but in last 6 months, all of you would have heard them because of the bad reason, Venezuela. Right? Here, all the problems in Venezuela. It was a fantastic country when I went. I mean, how did I go there? My sister's sister-in-law is from Venezuela. Asian family, Indian family, settled in Venezuela. She, her husband, and 2 children had come to visit Kenya. They stayed with us in Mombasa. Here they stayed few days with Manu. And they had always told me and Damos, come to Venezuela. So once we were in Vancouver, Damu's family was in Vancouver. Now most of them have gone to meet her mother. So that time we decided, they were told that there's this line. So it's fine, we go. On the way, a very old friend of mine from university in Los Angeles was based in Miami. So we stopped in Miami, 3 days with him, and then to Venezuela, saw the color line, very simple. You put one sheet, it paints on one side, then there's piled. It goes after drying on the other side. But we said, we will buy that.
Why did you want to buy a colour line?
I'll tell you why. Color sheets were started coming, but in the market. I used to drive a lot between Nairobi and Mombasa. One day, it just happened near Mazeras, Maria Kanya. So many roofs all becoming brown from galvanized sheets. So I said, why not do color? People will buy color sheets. So this is when we started inquiring with Kawasho, who was the trading arm of Kawasaki, with whom we dealt. Chandrayas dealt with Marubeni and Nihon Steel. So I said, any chance of we can't afford much. Any chance of yeah, there's one in Venezuela we will supply. That's how I went to Venezuela, wonderful country, and we decided to buy. And also, my sister-in-law really looked after us, took us. You will be surprised. There's a Venezuelan in South America. There are also mountains. There's a Venezuelan Andes, sort of all the mountains. We went up there. She took us there. You go and this. My God, coming back, we had to wait for 2.5 hours. We couldn't breathe afterwards. That height, 13,500 feet. I had been to that height in Colorado, but that time I was much younger.
Very high.
Yeah.
Very high.
So that's how we went to Venezuela.
And then tell us, so you had the first colour line in Mombasa. So tell us the story of, then you did the second colour line and now the latest
But
one.
even first color line we started selling in very difficult market slowly. But the market was here. So we brought it here. In Mobati, in Nairobi, Mobati. By that time we had already become partners. And that started doing well. So we decided to buy a better one. Same, Japanese, they designed it for us. The total capacity was 20,000 tons a year. Then we got it expanded, they helped us right up to 30,000 tons. That was in Nairobi. When we were putting it, I was saying, let's put it in Mombasa. They were saying, let's put it here. Finally, when we ran out of the capacity, we decided to buy a new one and put in Mombasa. It became part of that.
And that was the one put in 2015.
Yeah, correct, 4 years back. And what a line. And today, literally full capacity.
It is running at full
Capacity, yeah.
So you have a galvanized or an aluminium zinc or
Coating,
galvanizing line and a colour coating line, both now running at full capacity, servicing East Africa.
Also, let me tell you now that you're talking aluminium zinc.
Yes.
Aluminium zinc, when it came in the world, it was an American technology. Nobody had it. We decided that we want it. Upfront, we paid $1 million for the rights, and then this line that we see very good, that line was put, but we had to pay $1 million for the technology.
And where the first line was in
Mombasa.
In Mombasa. So were you
That
there
big
when
one.
they changed it from zinc to aluminium zinc?
Yeah, yeah. I was there right through with Mombasa.
And you're still in Mombasa?
Yeah, but then I spend their money. I don't go and work there. Spend their money for the medical center and the technical school. That's all my babies. Now, though I have just retired as a trustee, but I'll still be involved. Without me, they won't do anything. I go there.
So tell us a bit more about the SAFL, what we now call the SAFL MRM Foundation.
Yeah.
Tell us about the starting of the clinic and the Technical Training
Okay.
Institute.
What we did was we first started the Technical Institute.
Yeah.
There was this part which we had sold to a company, part of Mariakani. They went under. So there was an auction. I went to that auction. I bid. They didn't accept it. Then they came back and we bought that 7.5 acres. So my first point was we do something for Mariakani. This is a Christian organization, but out of India. What are they called? Bosco, Don Bosco. So we approached Don Bosco. They said, fine, we will not own it, but we will give you all our technology, and we have the head teacher from their organization. And train, and we follow Don Bosco systems. So that's where they started. And it's really good. And so many people now we train, they get jobs, we have very good record. Some of them go on their own, some of them go make a group, 3, 4, 5, and do the work. Then we had a small medical center as you enter Mariakani. And that medical center only served the staff. Then in the later stage, we started getting the locals also on certain day, very nominal charge. And then finally we decided we put a new one. And I was involved through my Lions Club. We have an excellent medical center in Mombasa, a single Lions Club. In Nairobi, I don't know if you know, Loresho, we have a big one, where we are the biggest donor, one of the biggest donor, Premchand Bhai Foundation. But that is for the whole district, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Ethiopia, Eritrea. The Mombasa one is my single club. And that's why I had worked a lot with the doctors. My club is full of doctors. So we decided on this medical center, and it's worked very well. A lot of people get advantage of it. We lose money, but we are not there to make money because we cannot meet the cost. And every year once, we call mega medical camp, organized by my Lions Club, supported by the Mabati. Mabati gives the amount for all the medication and other things. Last year, we had to finally close the doors. The last patient was 2009. We served 2009 patients in one day. My club brought, because there's so many doctors, so they have other doctor friends, including 5 doctors from Hungary. They were visiting, and our doctors brought them. And we had a medical staff on that day of about, including nurses, 40, and helpers from my club and from Mabati, another 50, 60. But we served 2009 people in one day, Anyone who needed a medicine were given. Anyone who needed glasses were given at 100 shilling a pair. Anyone who needed a surgery were taken with one relative. There were, I think, 37 people or so to our medical center, Lions Medical Center. Surgery was done. After 2 days, when surgery is finished, they are brought back home, no charge. But that we do every week. My club does every week for the Coast Province. First we used to send flyers in the area. Now flyers are not allowed. So through the local chief, etc., we send messages that we are going to come on such and such day, such time. Weekend, our staff goes. We have what we call an ambulance, goes with our staff from medical center. They serve the people. Anyone who needs medicine is given there. Anyone who needs surgery, brought back, taken home after 4 days, no charge. That's the service my club gives. And we can give that service because we have many, many people who are willing to donate.
It's an extraordinary story. Dhirubhai, please also tell us about the importance of the networks you've built up with KEBS and with all the various organizations.
It's very important. The Kenya Manufacturers Association, when it started, had only one on the management committee, only one non-white, which was Manu's eldest brother, D.P. Chandaria. He was some other my mentor in this kind of work. When I came back from UK, first he pushed me, he says, become member of Rotary. I said, no, I will become member of Lions because I have friends there. But I worked with him in Indian Merchants Chamber and everything. And then when he left Kenya Manufacturers Association, for next 13 years, I sat on that, and then Suli. And I was also at one time Federation of Kenya Employers. I was very active, head of the Mombasa branch. Kenya Institute of Management, I was for 2 years chairman of the Kenya Institute of Management's local branch. And I also served as a Kenya Manufacturers Association. You have a possibility, if you have two parties within your membership are fighting, you can go and have a person who will intervene or will help you to, won't give you any decision, and it will come back. I was invited in 2 cases, both sides were British companies. And thank God I managed to finally got them round, spending a lot of time, got them round. In one particular case, Damu and I were going to London. I said, you go. If I can get this through, in 2 weeks I will come. So
Amazing.
that was part of the other services you do besides. And Lions, obviously, is a big thing. And I was 1970, 71, so 49 years back, head of the Lions for Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Ethiopia. That time Eritrea was part of Ethiopia. So all those countries came. And I could only do that work because Suli was there. We didn't have that many professionals. Suli was there, so I literally took 6 months, every month, 15 days away from work for the Lions to visit. You're supposed to visit every single club. You're supposed to meet with their board of directors. You're supposed to advise them on what they are doing. They're doing right. You're supposed to say that and do that. Like for many, many years, Lions were specializing in helping people with the eye diseases. And I say, now we've also taken up, my mind goes,
Is it not maternal care?
No, not maternal care. It's everybody.
Not oncology, not cancer, no?
No. Now we've taken up. People get so many. You eat too sweet things, etc.
Diabetes.
Diabetes. Now the next, all over the world, we've seen diabetes in the developing world. So the next, this comes from the Lions head office in Chicago. It's just outside of. So this is our next. So last 2 years, even in ourselves, we are going to have a diabetes clinic in our hospital in Mombasa. So
That's amazing.
so that's.
Where to start? Dhirubhai, talk to me about the importance of family. Talk to me about the importance of working with them on the journey ahead.
I'll tell you what. Two things are very different. You, as an individual in business, you are a capitalist. You, as a member of the family, you are a socialist. I, fortunately, for good or not, became head of my family, even on the business side. But I continued for my family as a socialist. To this extent, even though I was the head, my emolument will not be a cent more than anyone who is of my age in the family. That is the philosophy by which we go, and that's why we keep all together. Otherwise, what will happen? The bright ones will get more. So there's every family. You're not going to have all Dirushas or all Manu Chandariyas. If you have all, then you won't be together. So you have the others. They can't do that much work, so they're doing low work. But their standard of living as a family should be same as any other member of the family, and that is the philosophy we go by.
So it's a philosophy of fairness and of caring and of taking people with you. You see, what you're saying is everyone's got their place.
Yes.
And everyone has got a role to play.
Yeah.
And if you do it together and you're fair about it. So taking that same thought and going forward, if you think of the greater employee pool that is the family of,
No, that's all right.
Now,
Yeah.
what would you say to them as a really important, from your point of view, the legacy you want them to take forward as a bigger family called the Safal Group?
Exactly. I would like them to be part of Safal Group. They are Safal Group. They are the one who are working, and they should be treated as such. And you look after them. There should be never be a boss and employee relationship. That relationship be equality, regardless of what position you are. Regardless you are MD, you're running Mabati or you aren't running Mabati. You talk to everyone, and everyone has a right to express their views. Then you decide what is to be done. And in our case, most of us have moved out of that business. That's been left to the senior executives, and that is the right thing to do. If we hadn't done it, we couldn't expand. No family can expand on only their family personnel. If you want to expand, because each family, 5 brothers, 5 cousins, they are not equal. 1 or 2 are the go-getters. Others will go on. So those go-getters have to be big enough, big-minded enough, that though the others are not but being a family member, you have the same dinner, you have the same traveling experiences, etc. That is what we work by. Many families don't, but we certainly believe in it, and we do that.
So that is fantastic, and I mean it shows bigness of heart. It shows that everyone's got their role. So I'm going to ask you, Dhirubhai, if you don't mind, looking into the camera now,
Yeah.
because I'm going to ask you, just get yourself comfortable,
Yeah.
there's no rush with me.
Yeah.
What one or two things would you like every employee of Safol Group to remember in their daily work lives? What one or two things will make the Safol Group continue to be strong and focused and to grow?
I'll tell you what I would like to see.
If you could just look at the camera,
Yeah.
I'll be right.
Okay. I had a professor whom I will never forget what he told us. In fact, 10 years after I was living in California, I went again to California and I went to my university, rang him, university, and went to meet him. In America, the first degree is not BSc, it is BS, Bachelor of Science. In British system, it's BSc. His name was Professor Mortner. He says, kids, we can only teach you 2 letters of the 26 letters of the alphabet here. If you learn it well, you will learn the rest of the 24 letters faster than those who have not learned first 2 letters in the University of Hard Knocks. And it is so right that what I learned at every stage in a little business that I worked for, little industry in America, trading for 2 years, 2.5 years, I was in the trading side of the family. Then they moved to a financial side, which was financial services. We were the first company group M-Pesa started, called Guarantee Discount and Guarantee Company of East Africa, where we gave hire purchase facilities for people to buy cars, trucks, whatever it is, including refrigerators and things like that, Whitegate. So, or we also has for small businesses, cash loans at a very nominal rate. That was started. That I learned because I was 3.5 years in that before they moved me to London. And to me, the most important part is you learn on the job. I can tell you my degree in America and what I know now, there is no comparison and nobody's. You learn and learn with everyone. I have seen people coming in organization and go after 10 years, do much better there, what they are and what they will when they leave. So you always learn at work, keep your mind open. If your mind is not open, you won't do it.
Perfect. Yeah, powerful.
So what else?
Group's opportunity is going forward.
I'll tell you. I believe at the moment we are one-track mind. Still, still, and still. Time has to come when you become that group, you diversify. As a business person, not for the sake of diversify. Get some other opportunity, do other businesses, etc., and bring it up to a level where you can make another group. Say, let's say for example, dealing in food processing. We have been in food processing as a family before. What is Pure Product now was started by us and Chandaryas way back in 1941 or something like that through an American specialist, and he lived in Nairobi, then he left. So you can go into other fields. This is what I feel. Because when you become that big, you have opportunity. You have the management, most important thing is management experience, financial experience. All businesses need that. That you have. Compare, there are many other things. Do that. This is what I would feel. A lot of other people say, why we are specialists, we are good at this, why go and dabble? My feeling is we are big enough to do that. There are in the world many big organizations where 1, 2, 3, 4 different fields they are in.